My husband, 32M, and I, 30F, had been trying for a baby for 3 years with no success. We went through all the tests, tried medications, and were heading toward IVF when I unexpectedly got pregnant naturally. It felt like a miracle. At 8 weeks, I started bleeding. The doctor discovered I had a subchorionic hematoma, which put the pregnancy at high risk for miscarriage. I'd already had 2 early miscarriages before this, and the emotional toll had been devastating. My husband took those losses hard too, falling into depression after the second one. When this pregnancy became high risk, I made a decision. I wouldn't tell anyone except my sister. Not my parents, not my friends, and especially not my in-laws. Even my husband would only know the basics, that I was pregnant, but not about the complications. I know this sounds wrong, but I was trying to protect both of us from another heartbreak. My in-laws, Margaret and Richard, have always been difficult. They come from old money and have never fully accepted me. I grew up middle class, and they've made it clear they think their son married down. They've made snide comments about my family's financial status, my career as a teacher, not ambitious enough, and even questioned my fertility issues as if they were somehow my fault. Throughout the pregnancy, I had weekly doctor appointments, which I scheduled during my planning periods at school. I took progesterone, stayed on modified bed rest on weekends, and followed every instruction to keep this baby safe. I told my husband the pregnancy was going fine, just normal first trimester fatigue. By some miracle, the hematoma resolved by week 16. The rest of the pregnancy progressed normally, though I remained anxious until the end. My husband was supportive but not overly involved, which was partly my doing since I wasn't sharing the full picture. Our daughter Emma was born healthy at 39 weeks, 7 pounds even, with a full head of dark hair. The moment they placed her on my chest, I felt all the fear and anxiety of the past months melt away. My husband cried when he held her, completely in love. That's when we finally called our families. My parents were overjoyed. His parents, not so much. They arrived at the hospital 3 hours later, with Richard looking skeptical and Margaret staring at Emma with narrowed eyes. "She doesn't look like anyone in our family," was the first thing Margaret said. Not congratulations. Not, "She's beautiful." Just immediate suspicion. I laughed it off, saying newborns often don't look like anyone yet. But I caught the look Richard gave my husband, and I knew trouble was coming. We brought Emma home after 2 days in the hospital, and the first week was a beautiful blur of newborn snuggles and sleepless nights. My husband took 2 weeks off work and seemed completely smitten with our daughter. I started to believe we might finally be able to move past the pain of our fertility struggles. Then his parents came to help. Margaret insisted on staying in our guest room for a few days, claiming I needed experienced guidance as a new mother. Within hours, she was criticizing everything. How I held Emma, how I fed her, how the nursery was arranged. Nothing was good enough. On their 3rd day staying with us, I was breastfeeding Emma in the nursery when I overheard Margaret talking to my husband in the kitchen. "David, I hate to say this, but your father and I have concerns," she said in that faux concerned tone I'd grown to hate. "Don't you think it's strange that after years of trying, she suddenly gets pregnant? And then the baby doesn't look anything like you or anyone in our family?" My blood ran cold. "Mom, what are you suggesting?" David's voice was quiet, uncertain. "I'm saying maybe you should consider a paternity test. For peace of mind." I waited for my husband to defend me, to shut down this ridiculous suggestion immediately. Instead, I heard, "You really think that's necessary? Consider the timing. She was distant during the pregnancy, didn't want us involved. Now this baby appears with no family resemblance. We're just concerned for you, that's all." I almost burst into the kitchen right then, but Emma had finally latched properly, and I couldn't disrupt her feeding. I sat there, tears streaming down my face, as the conversation continued. "She wouldn't do that to me," David said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Probably not," Richard chimed in. "But wouldn't you rather know for sure? What's the harm in checking?" There was a long pause before David responded. "I'll think about it." That night, after his parents had gone to bed, David approached me while I was changing Emma's diaper. "My parents raised some concerns today," he began awkwardly. "About what?" I asked, though I already knew. About Emma's paternity." He couldn't meet my eyes. I felt like I'd been slapped. "Excuse me. They think it's odd that after years of trying, you suddenly got pregnant. And they say she doesn't look like me." He rushed to add, "I don't necessarily agree with them, but what?" My voice was dangerously quiet as I buttoned Emma's onesie. "They suggested a paternity test, just to put the issue to rest. And I told them I'd do it." I picked up Emma and held her close, partly as comfort and partly as a shield against the rage building inside me. "You agreed to a paternity test without even discussing it with me first?" "I thought it would be easier this way," he said defensively. "Quick and simple, just to shut them up. Easier for whom? Certainly not for me, who just carried and delivered your child after 3 years of heartbreak. The look on David's face showed he hadn't considered how deeply insulting his agreement was. But instead of apologizing, he got defensive. You weren't exactly open with me during the pregnancy, he said quietly. You seemed distant. Secretive, even. That's when my guilt collided with my anger. He wasn't entirely wrong. I had kept things from him. Not infidelity, but certainly information he had a right to know. I need to tell you something, I said, putting Emma in her bassinet. I explained everything. The subchorionic hematoma, the weekly appointments, the constant fear of another miscarriage. I told him why I'd kept it secret, how I couldn't bear to see him suffer through another loss if things went wrong. He stared at me in stunned silence. Why wouldn't you tell me? I'm your husband. I deserve to know. Because I saw what the last miscarriage did to you. To us. I was crying now. You shut down for months. I was trying to protect you. By lying to me? His voice was hard. And now you're surprised I have trust issues? The bitter irony wasn't lost on me. By trying to shield him from potential pain, I created the exact scenario where his parents' accusations could land. I never cheated on you, I said firmly. Emma is yours. But if you need a paternity test to believe that, go ahead. Just know that if you do this, something between us will be broken forever. He left the room without another word. I heard him go into the guest room to speak with his parents, their voices a low murmur I couldn't make out. The next morning, David found me in the kitchen, dark circles under his eyes matching mine. Emma was asleep in her swing nearby. I told my parents to leave, he said. They're packing now. I waited, not sure what this meant. I was up all night thinking about everything. He ran his hand through his hair. I was wrong to agree to the test without talking to you. And I understand why you kept the pregnancy complications from me, even though it hurts that you didn't trust me to handle it. He took my hands. I know Emma is mine. I don't need a test to prove it. Margaret appeared in the doorway, suitcase in hand. David, you're making a mistake. If you just... No, Mom, he interrupted firmly. I'm not doing the test. Emma is my daughter, and I won't have you questioning my wife's integrity or our marriage anymore. Richard appeared behind her, looking uncomfortable. Son, we're only trying to protect you. I don't need protection from my family, David replied. If you can't respect my wife and daughter, you won't be welcome in our home. After they left, the tension between us remained. Trust had been damaged on both sides, mine from keeping secrets, his from doubting me. But watching him stand up to his parents had given me hope. That night, as Emma slept between feedings, David and I talked for hours. We acknowledged our mistakes and fears. We agreed to try counseling to rebuild what had been broken. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the complications, I said. I was so scared of losing her. And you, that I thought I was doing the right thing. And I'm sorry I let my parents' suspicions get to me, he replied. I should have shut it down immediately. 6 months later, our marriage isn't perfect, but it's stronger. Our counselor helped us see how fear had driven both our actions. David's parents have made tentative efforts to reconcile, though I keep them at arm's length. Some wounds heal slowly. As for Emma, she's thriving, and ironically, as her features develop, she looks more like David every day. His mother recently commented on their identical dimples, and I couldn't help but smile at the universe's perfect timing.